Welcome to Qatar KickAround, the nightly wrap-up and discussion of the day's action in the 2022 World Cup. From the group stage to the final, our team is here, keeping you on top of the world's most watched sporting event. Brought to you by Westwood One Sports.
Welcome to Matchday 11 of Qatar Crazy KickAround, our daily recap of the action in this insanity known as the 2022 World Cup being held in crazy Qatar. Hi, it's me, Peter, and I'm tagging along with the man that definitely is way more knowledgeable about the World Cup than anybody else in the whole wide world, Andy Swift.
World Cup!
And he's hooded and bearded and looks very menacing, but don't judge the book by its cover. He is the sweetest man alive. Our football journalist, live from London, Lars Sivertson.
Chaos. Come on. Yes. Chaos. What a night. Or what a day for you guys, I guess. What a night for us. Oh, my. It was something.
Unbelievable. I was convinced, I had sold myself that today was going to be the calm day.
Peter. First, how long have you been doing the show?
Well, this is the third World Cup we've done.
How long have you been watching World Cup?
Many.
What is the mantra?
It always goes nuts. Yes.
First round, nuts,
right.
Upsets, crazy, surprises. Champions have depth. Those are the two.
Yeah,
two
I know.
World Cup 101s.
But I thought this particular group was going to just Spain and Germany.
Match day threes, always.
Okay.
There's no other
Right.
no other sporting event that provides the chaos that Match Day 3 does, World Cup Match Day 3 does. Come on, man.
You don't know how much crap I got for reposting my predictions, and people started noticing that I picked Qatar to go through out of Group A. You picked Qatar?
That was goofy, though, to be fair.
That was quite goofy.
I've made bad calls predicting this tournament, as have we all.
On my side, Lars.
Yes, this is the difficult thing. You know that you're going to have chaos and surprises. You just don't know which ones. So that's what you're kind of picking, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I thought Qatar, as the host nation, going through a relatively simple Group A was way more likely to happen than what was going down today in Group E, which was, again, utter and... Okay, did anybody... Hold on. Did either one of you count how many times first place in Group A changed hands over the course of 2 hours?
It's part of the nutting, and one goal would have... Before we get to that, I want to ask the trivia question.
Oh, yes, the trivia question.
Before we get to everything.
Yes. Time now
Before we
for
get to
Professor
everything.
Andy's World Cup trivia question.
Okay.
Brought to you by Soccer 90.
Peter
I
and
don't know, I
Lars.
just made that up.
Okay, over the last 4 World Cups, that's since 2010, a span of 12 years, right? A generation and a half of soccer players. Among the teams that I'm about to list, I'm going to give you 4 teams. Which one has the most round of 16 appearances, and which one has the least? Okay? The 4 teams I'm going to give you: Germany, the United States, Italy, Belgium.
Ooh. What was
One
the time?
team-
Give me the time frame again.
2010, the last 4 World Cups.
Oh.
Which of those 4 has the most round of 16 appearances, and which one has the least? Germany, the United States, Italy, and Belgium.
All right.
Answer.
You kids watching the live stream, don't ruin it by throwing the answer in the comments, please. We're going to save that question to the end of the show. It's an old radio trick, so you'll have to stick through the whole darn thing. Although, based on what happened today, you're probably going to want to listen to the whole darn thing anyway.
Group E was nuts. Yes, Peter, to your point earlier.
Okay, so in the course of 2 hours, how many times did first place change hands? And am I incorrect in saying there was a point during the 2 hours where every team...
Except Germany. They couldn't get first.
Ah, okay. Germany never got up to first place.
They could get first, but it was going to be complicated for them. They would have to route Costa Rica. But at one point, even Costa Rica was in first for 3 minutes.
Yes.
Costa Rica
and that was a beautiful time.
was in first place.
For those 3 minutes, And I'm watching these legally, I should add, on streams, but I'm using the digital platforms of the broadcasters in my country, and they're very functional. They work, but they're a little bit delayed. They're somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes delayed.
I'm sorry. So we kept ruining it by.
Oh yeah, for this whole Matchday 3 so far for the various teams, you've been spoiling all the excitement for me. And that's fine.
Sorry, man.
But the thing that caused is that I was going to tweet once the goal went in for Costa Rica, and I was like, oh my god, like they're both top now. And I took like a screenshot of a live table somewhere, and by the time I put the tweet out, it wasn't true anymore. So I kind of, in the sort of very strange space-time continuum, I enjoyed those 3 minutes, but they happened at a different time for me than to everyone else.
It was interesting because I was watching, which game was I? I was watching the Japan-Spain game. But I also had FOTMob open on my computer, and FOTMob is it's a Norwegian-based, very good app and website for soccer stats, scores, everything, and it's really, really top class. But what it does that's interesting is that it does all this in real time, so you don't have to refresh it. Like you can watch it like a video as it calculates.
Boy, it must have been going nuts.
It was, yeah. I'm sure their server was smoking at one point earlier today. But what was interesting was when Germany scored to make it 3-2 over Costa Rica, on the Spain-Japan game, the commentator said, oh my, now Germany scored to take the lead. Spain now needs to have to score or they're out. And I was watching the FOTMob thing, and the FOTMob made the adjustment, and it was still Spain second, Germany third, and it said Spain had +6, Germany 0 for goal differential. And it was right. Yeah. The commentator was wrong, and it took her a good 2 minutes to correct herself.
Was that Ali Wagner?
No. It was the English woman with Warren Barton.
Because Ali Wagner is top notch.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's just kind of walk through how Group E, as an exciting, played out today.
Yeah. So to just lay the groundwork, what we were heading into was that the only way Germany would not advance at a group play with a win was if Japan beat Spain, which seems possible, but watching Spain having played their first 2 games, we thought Spain would at least have a draw in that game. We gave Costa Rica no chance, right?
No,
yeah.
I certainly didn't.
Right.
No.
But if they were able to draw with Germany, then Japan would get through. So that's kind of the scenario heading in.
Okay. So here we go. We kick off and okay.
Well, then what we expected to happen, or not what we expected, but I mean the favorites scored their goals. Spain scored first, Germany scores first, and then we're like, okay.
Yeah, this is going to be an easy day. This is
going to be one of those, yeah.
And then it all just kind of went haywire because once again, it's weird. Japan has this a switch that I think is labeled self-belief, Lars, that is off at the beginning of these games, and then at some point the manager walks over and flicks it, and they just turn into a different team. It's weird.
Well, this happened both against Spain and against Germany now, and belief might be part of it. Maybe they've been really cooking something up at halftime, but he also made changes to the personnel and made some subs in both of those games and just really turned it around. So I think Hajime Moriyasu on the Japan bench deserves a lot of credit. I think he's been doing his job this tournament and analyzing what's going wrong in the first halves and making changes and firing everyone up. And they just ran at them and again showed such incredible spirit and tenacity, and I'm so happy for Japan, because this is a team that in a couple of tournaments now I've looked at and thought, man, you guys are so close to being good, because there's a lot to like there in terms of the effort, the endeavor, the stamina, but they've lacked a little bit of edge in both ends of the pitch. But I'm so happy to see them do well now.
Yeah, now Japan has qualified out of group play 3 of the last 4 World Cups. They've had success getting out of the group stage. Usually in second, always in second, except now they finished first. But we've always said about them, they don't lack that killer instinct. And it's kind of been like the opposite now. Now they've needed that. Now they've needed to overturn a score line and then hang on to win it. And they've shown that killer instinct, and they've shown the acumen, the football acumen, to close out games, which in the past was kind of an issue for them.
And I know that you guys think I put a little bit too much emphasis on club football, and this is World Cup, it's different. I get that, and it's entirely possible that you're right. But I think it matters for Japan that they have more people in that group who are playing regularly at a higher level than before. I mean, there are lines you can draw to the US team, actually. And we've seen over the last decade or so a steady increase of Japanese players playing in the top European leagues, particularly in Germany. And I just think having more guys who are used to playing these big games in front of big crowds with big consequences if things go right or wrong, in moments like this, I think that helps them.
We do now live in a world where Japan tops a group where they beat both Spain and Germany, but lost to Costa Rica.
Right. That's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And we live in a world where Costa Rica, who had lost 7-0, had a chance to advance. Yeah. And we're advancing in first. Crazy.
Yeah, there was a moment in time, it wasn't a very long moment in time, where both Spain and Germany were out of the World Cup at the group stage, and Japan and Costa Rica were through.
A real quick word about Costa Rica, because we're going to talk about Spain and Germany quite a bit. But, man, a little bit of credit for the way they came out, and they fought. They didn't have, on paper, the team that Germany has. They don't have guys playing in higher leagues, or a lot of them anyway. And they showed a lot of grit and fight today, and they hung in there, and Germany had issues, let's just say that, and that lent itself to Costa Rica staying in the match. But ultimately, at the end of the day, and I think it's true for Group F too, that we'll talk about a little bit later, you feel like the two deserving teams advanced out of group, right? I mean, I don't think anybody can argue that it wasn't Japan and Spain who deserved to advance out of this group.
I agree. Yeah, it feels like justice has been served, but we're now also living in a world where the Germans have now fallen out of the group stage 2 World Cups in a row, and that just seems completely improbable and probably the biggest headline of this tournament so far.
Mm-hmm. And the game against Costa Rica, even though they won it in the end, displayed all of the shortcomings that made them mess up against Japan as well. Because they had more possession and more chances and all this. Yeah, of course they did. But they didn't have a cutting edge up front for a lot of that time. They should have scored even more goals, really, I thought, against the Ticos, brave as their resistance was. And they got so complacent, and the defenders started doing really goofy things. And, Hansi Flick has been talking about it in the post-match press conference, saying that we have to think a little bit big picture. He says we have to get better at talent development. And he's just said straight up, like, we've been screaming for more fullbacks, strong fullbacks, and a number 9 for years, which is true. I feel like it's the third tournament now, including the World Cup 2018, Euro 2020, and the third time in a row I'm doing preview stuff, and I'm looking at Germany saying, wow, they don't have any fullbacks, do they? And they don't have a number 9. That's really weird for a really big football country. Yeah. So they need to... There's a lot of talent in that group, but there are just big gaps. And I guess then it becomes it's about the coach trying to find solutions for that, and he just couldn't.
The lack of number 9 is a worldwide issue, and I think in 10 years we're going to see like so many 9s that have been developed over the last 10 years because there's that shortage. But big picture for Germany, and very specifically to this team and this game today, is the defense. If you don't, in this World Cup particularly too, you have to defend. You have to defend well. You can't create a lot up top, not a lot of time to prepare, all that. We've gone over and over it. But defending is so important in this tournament, and a lot of teams that are advancing are at least defending well, are shutting it in the back. And Germany just was all kinds of a problem there today, and so deservedly, they gave up those 2 goals that just kind of threw everything off.
Have you guys seen the photo of Kai Havertz accepting his Man of the Match award?
It is truly amazing.
Yes, it's he's standing there. It's the classic "you asked for a swin and you got a huffy" kind of thing award. And he's just
like the poor guy. What are you gonna do? You come off and you've scored a couple of goals and you've been handed Man of the Match and you have to do the photo op. But it's not a great time for you, is it?
No.
All right. So the other things about this group that I want to mention, first off, the all-female referee crew. First time this has ever happened in the Germany-Costa Rica game.
But they were good.
Yeah. And then the other one that happened in this that has a lot of people talking is the Japanese goal that put them, I think it put them ahead and took the big delay, which is the ball over the line. And first, I didn't think VAR was allowed to officiate that. I didn't think now, over the line between the posts for a goal, yes, VAR can do that. But I didn't think VAR could adjudicate if a ball had cleared the line or not.
Well, VAR can get involved in any goal score, any goal.
Yeah, if it's a goal, that's.
I thought it had to do with a foul, not with the ball clearing the line. But maybe this is new, or maybe I just misunderstood it. But I think Lars or Andy, one of you guys pick up and run with the idea of just explaining to people the whole concept of the entire ball being over the line. Go ahead, Lars. You do that.
Well, I was pointing to Andy, Peter, very much in the.
Okay,
all right.
Yeah.
Andy, you do
I
it.
can do it, but I think Andy will do it better than me.
A lot of people assume that if the bottom sphere of the ball is out,
the bottom of the sphere of
is out,
that the ball
then
is
the
out.
whole ball, then the ball is out, but the whole ball has to be out. So if a ball is spherical, obviously it's round, right? So there's a sphere on the side. If that side sphere is over the line, even though the bottom sphere is completely over the line, if the other
ball
one is
still
touching,
inbounds,
it's still
yeah.
in.
And if you really want to see it well explained, we retweeted something, a couple of images that somebody put up earlier today, where you look at one angle of the ball and it looks completely like it's out of bounds, but when you're perfectly parallel with the line, you can see the ball hanging over the line, and that means the ball is still in play. And so that's really what you're looking at, and that was just pure effort on the Japanese player to continue to try to make that.
That was, man.
The fact that he even got it back across the face of the goal was stunning.
Right. Yeah. So that is a World Cup advancement play right there, because if they don't do that, Germany advances. If he doesn't, it was beyond balls out, 150% effort play, right? I mean, it was incredible. And it got them through in this World Cup. And if they keep advancing, you look back at that play and it's like, man, that is a historical play in the history of Japanese soccer.
Yeah.
Now,
and it's such a big deal. Those are qualities and properties we're used to seeing from the team anyway. But actually getting those rewards, in 2 games against huge opposition, being able to have that feeling that you thought you were completely out of it after the first half, but you've managed to turn it around through grit and determination. Obviously, those are huge moments for the country, but that's something that's going to resonate as well, because the next World Cup they're at, if they're in a difficult situation, the players are going to remember that this happened, whether they were there or not, that this is something that we can do. So these sort of positive experiences, they resonate and help you further down the line.
Now, Andy, we were talking about this in our chat group while the game was playing out,
where you're going with
which is the irony of all of this is by ending up in second place, España may have actually put themselves on the better path.
Right.
So this was a dominant subject in our Permutations FC WhatsApp group.
Because
where I was just realized, you know what? Actually, winning this game might not be the best move for Spain. Because of the way the bracket works out, and this is very presumptuous of us, as we have shown, the World Cup is pure madness. You can never presume anything. But the way it's shaping up, the team that won this group will bump into Croatia first and then likely Brazil, whereas the team that finished runners-up will go into Morocco and then likely Portugal. All of this with a slight pinch of salt, but that's the most probable outcome, right?
Yeah, finishing first for Japan, like you said, Croatia, then Brazil, then maybe Messi.
And this is the thing. Like, I know to win the World Cup, you're going to have to beat the best and all of that. But but it's not a bad idea to not have to play them straight away. And if you honestly, like, under your head, if you had to pick, are you playing versus Croatia and Brazil and then maybe Messi, or are you playing against the Morocco and Portugal? And which of those paths do you prefer?
Right.
Like, there's a right and a wrong answer to that question.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe, this was while Spain were still in the lead. If this is as it stands right towards the end of the game, maybe score a couple of own goals. Just take fate into your own hands.
Now, the reason Spain couldn't gamble with that is because Costa Rica showed that they could get ahead of Germany. So Spain's also thinking, well, Costa Rica is giving Germany a match, and if Costa Rica ends up winning, then we're completely out if we leave this 2-1. So that motivated them, I think, to get on the ball and go after that goal, and pride too. And it didn't look like they were. I mean, we were towards the end. They knew that if they just pinged it around, they would advance and be in second place. But it looked like they were legitimately trying to.
It wasn't a fix at all. And I think the point that's worth raising: to what extent do they know and are they aware of all the permutations on the field? I mean, I think that's a hard thing to answer sometimes. But there was a side of me, the slightly more mischievous side of me, that thought, Germany in extra time, when you know this is going to happen for you, just dunk in a couple of own goals and take Spain with you.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
No point, just all spite. Like
the disgrace of Doha.
If we're going home, we're taking the Spanish with us.
Yeah,
why not? That would have been very funny.
Speaking of the Spanish, remember after 2 matches, so many people online, and I read a lot of tweets like Spain looked the best after 2 games, this and that, and like we said, who has won the World Cup after looking the best after 2 games? And you have to go quite a ways back to find a team that did that. So Spain, again, issues scoring, right, Lars?
Yeah, and I don't disagree with people saying they've looked great, because they look good in a way that international teams don't always look. And we spent some time on this yesterday, so I'm not going to repeat everything I said just then, but just the way they move the ball around, the way they look more coherent than we're used to seeing international teams look. And that's impressive. But I come back to this. Overwhelmingly, I think what wins you World Cups and what wins you these tournaments are 2 things. If you have a defense that doesn't screw up very often, and secondly, if you have guys up front who can turn a game for you. Like, those are the 2 big things. And
depth.
Depth, obviously. You need, like, if guys get injured, you need replacements and you need to be able to rest. Yeah, I get that. But the point is, being able to pass it beautifully in midfield is nice. But if you have an unreliable defense and sort of goofy forwards who don't score, then that doesn't really take you there, right? So I mean,
the benefit that we have, or the teams that can't score this World Cup have, that have depth and can defend, is that there's a lot of teams in that fall in that same category. It's just and that's the great evening up of things. I think nobody can score, it seems like.
Well, here we are, Group E. Japan tops the group. They beat both Spain and Germany. Spain gets in by the hair of their chinny chin chin, and Germany is out again. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go to part 2, which is titled Romelu Lukaku's Really Crummy Day. Here's part 2 of Matchday 11 of Qatar KickAround. We had so much fun talking about Group E, but now it's time to talk about Group F. And F is probably Romelu Lukaku's favorite letter or word today. Because I don't know how... okay, let's just... This is so insane to me. As Belgium's taking on Croatia, this game is 0-0. It's a bit back and forth, I think is the best way to describe it. It's kind of
I think Croatia was a slightly better team in the first half, but they got tired in the second. And that's when Belgium started to... Okay,
so Lukaku comes on at halftime, correct? Am I correct? He was a halftime sub, correct? I think I'm 99%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And over the course of 45 minutes... is able to collect enough opportunities that it is valued as an XG of 1.67.
That's almost 2 goals.
Yes, which he scored none of. And just to put that into perspective, that's 45 minutes of 1.67. The host nation, Qatar, over the course of 3 games as an entire team,
the pub league team,
got a collective XG of 1.42, and they scored 1 goal in those 3 games. That's how bad Lukaku's day was.
Yeah, unfortunate. I think you had a good comment in our little chat. You said if this happened in some spare 3rd division league of some whatever country.
3rd world country.
Yeah, like we'd raise red flags like, oh, the match is fixed. He's missing goals on purpose. They were so clear cut, right?
Yes, there were shots with his foot. There was a header that was money. There was another one that came off. All he had to do is chest it in the goal. There was another that he whiffed on. I think that one's probably unfair because the defender made an amazing tackle on it.
Yeah. So I have some sympathy for Lukaku a little bit in the sense that 2 of those big chances, you can see he just needed like another split second to adjust his body. You know, there are balls that are coming very suddenly at him. Now, you could argue that that's his fault for not being a more nimble individual and not positioning himself correctly, but they were not like as easy as they maybe looked, I would argue. Certainly not someone with his body type. And I don't know, man. I'm really torn between, on the one side, like to what extent should we be making fun of him here? Like, on the one hand, he's a multimillionaire. He's going to go home and still be a multimillionaire. Whereas I live in a country where a lot of people, myself included, are sort of agonizing over whether we can afford to turn the heat on or not in the evening. So, like, I don't feel that sorry for him. But you know what? That isn't how psychology works. That's not how the human brain and emotional, like, thing... He's going to be absolutely torn up about this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He is one of those players... It's a strange thing if you're on social media. There's some players that just attract more abuse than others. Now, some of it, I'm sorry to say, might have a racial component, but sometimes it's just like someone like Harry Maguire who just has a bad period. And it reaches a point where sort of everyone, even people who don't understand football or maybe even don't follow it that closely, have heard, okay, this guy is bad, so we can make fun of him. And everyone starts to make fun. You know, the abuse that Lukaku gets online is extraordinary. And I, because of that, I feel like more... I feel more sympathetic and sad for him than sort of Schadenfreude glee when he has this sort of a bad time in front of goal, I have to say.
Well, okay, so let's then talk about Belgium and not focus on Lukaku because really it's the team problem, and you're right, it's not on one guy. And to put him in this spot where he had to score for them to advance is on the rest of the guys because these were the first minutes he saw all World Cup, and the guys already had put themselves in a situation where they had to win today to advance. This is Belgium, had to win today to advance. And now in the first half, against Croatia, who's a decent side and who actually looked decent in the first half before they got really tired. Did Belgium just show you anything that any sense of urgency or like, man, you know, I know that you have to control the score line too. You got to make sure you don't get scored.
Are you guys aware that Martinez has either resigned or been fired?
Yeah.
He's announced that this was his last game.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So,
Now,
I mean,
But I would say, so the point I would make about this game is that honestly, I thought this was fine from Belgium. They were a little bit defensive in the first half, and Croatia had the most of the ball. But Belgium made sure that they weren't as open and easy to cut through as they'd been in their first two games. And then in the second half, where obviously the need was dire, but also Croatia started tiring, they started pushing forward more and created more than enough chances to win the game. Now, given that they were playing against a pretty good team in Croatia, I think that's a well-planned and executed 90 minutes, really. It's just the goals didn't go in. And sometimes that's football.
Yeah, I would say that needing a win, and you're right, you have to make sure you don't get scored on when you have to go win that game too. But I don't think, I mean, I don't know if they were able to know, I mean, if they knew Croatia was going to get as tired as they got in the second half. I mean, is that something that they figured would happen?
But the point is, leaving the kind of gaps defensively that they left against Canada and to an extent
that
Morocco would have been
fixed.
suicidal against Croatia, right? It would have been 3-0 down at halftime.
True.
So they did at least address some of their shortcomings and put themselves in a position where they just needed one of those goals to go in.
Yeah.
So I don't want to dump on them too much for this game. This game wasn't the problem.
Right.
The problem was the two first game. And it's so funny. I keep thinking they lost against Canada because that game, they were so bad that mentally, that's kind of, I chalked it up as an L in my head just because they were so poor. But of course, they did win that somehow. And then they were also poor against Morocco. I mean, those were the two bad games.
Yeah. And with Morocco beating Canada, and we can talk about that game a little bit, and I have some things to say about Canada. Again, like Group E, I think the two deserving teams advance out of this group. I think Croatia and Morocco.
Well, it is interesting when we talk about the two groups. The ultimate outcome, are very similar because an unexpected team ends up winning the group, and one of the two giants ends up getting booted, kicked out of the tournament. So, we talked about Japan winning that group. Spain, Germany. Spain goes through Germany out here. Morocco wins the group. Yeah. And I guess my question to both of you is, that is by all measure even a bigger surprise than Japan winning Group E.
Oh yeah, it's a real upset, and I'm really happy for them as well. I'm in danger of repeating myself a bit, but they do have some good players, and what I'm surprised at is how well they hang together as a unit, and I think that's impressive.
I don't know if that one is to me, because Spain and Germany were much more favored to be the two to get out of that group, and with Belgium and all their issues,
Croatia's age.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, Japan and Morocco are ranked very similarly. I mean, if you put any stock in the FIFA rankings, but it's one thing we go by.
Sure.
22nd, 24th.
Small amount of stock.
And yeah, true, but still. And so, Belgium, Germany, I was higher on Germany than I was Belgium. Spain, Croatia, you can say even.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I guess I was just higher on Japan, I guess, than Morocco.
You were. From the start, you were very high on Japan.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a great achievement by them anyway. And it's, I may have mentioned this before, but I think it's great because for so many years, the FAs in Africa thought, right, we have talented players, but we need Europeans to come and make sense of them for us. And they kept hiring this sort of strange array of various European coaches who would bounce around the various African national teams. Some of them doing good work, by all means, but quite a few of them not doing very good work. And in this tournament, all the African teams are led by African coaches. And I don't think they've gotten any worse for doing that, I have to say.
No, they've gotten better. It's the first time. Well, absolutely. It's only the second time they've advanced two to the round of 16. They still have a chance to advance a third. Ghana. Cameroon has a small chance, but they probably will not advance.
And with Morocco, you have a squad who have specifically gotten rid of their sort of European-born expert coach in Walid Halilhodžić and appointed a... Well, he's actually born in France.
Ziyech's best friend or something like that.
Yeah. But the one, Walid Regragui, is actually born in France, but he is Moroccan. And the point I'm trying to make is that part of why they've been so good isn't just the talent, but they've looked really well drilled. I think the coach has been doing good work there. They're really well organized, so that's impressive.
It is interesting now that you guys mention it. So in Group A, we have a European team, an African team. In B, we have a European team, a CONCACAF team. C, a CONMEBOL team and a European team. D is a European team and an Asian team. Australia's considered Asia, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
They moved from Oceania.
Yeah.
They got tired of playing New Zealand. Like, you can only do that so many times.
Right.
Oh my
and
God.
in Group B, now we have another Asian team and a European team. And F, we have an African team and a European team. So I think that's good representation. I mean, that's
for sure.
Yeah.
It's very spread out. And I think one of the things too, we're seeing a little bit of the continental bias from Asian teams playing in Asia, always do well. And the African teams, actually, we expected this from them in 2010 when it was held in Africa. And maybe it was a little early to expect so much from the African representation. Now we're seeing it. And we probably should have factored in a little bit that, hey, geographically, it's close to Qatar. The northern African teams, the Muslim African countries, are doing really well. Environmental comfort, closeness to home, a great amount of support. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's been noticeable.
So it's kind of like playing out like World Cups do when you factor in these kind of things. Now, the other thing too, real quick, one superpower going out, check. The dark horse darling going out, check, Denmark, and a group seed going out, Belgium, check. Like every World Cup, we get one of those, and it's all happened. Now Canada, let's talk about them real quick.
All right, so Canada ends up playing against Morocco today, and they obviously lose. Canada goes 0-3 in the tournament with a goal differential of -5. Real quick note about Canada. Canada now is, and this is, sorry, Lars, just bear with me for 30 seconds. Canada is now the third nation in a World Cup to wear 3 different colored jerseys in the tournament. They wore their white, then black, and today they wore red. That's happened 2 times before. Spain in 10 and England.
Golly, look at this.
In the 1970s. I only found that out because of the great Twitter account, Museum of Jerseys.
You are the World Cup kit trivia.
No, I stole it from somebody else.
Awesome.
I just wanted to give them credit.
No,
but,
that's great. That's
but
great.
that is cool that they had 3 different kits.
I really like their black kits, by the way. I thought they were very sharp.
So
Canada
it didn't work out well for them.
Is a team.
None of them were lucky.
Yeah,
Andy,
no. And Canada showed promise.
Lars, you can join back in. We're not done talking about kits.
So I should just check my email again just to see what's going on there.
Canada showed great promise, and like that first game against Belgium, that was their World Cup, right? I mean, it felt like they left everything in that one. But again, it shows that it takes so much more. Like they're like and I read this on Twitter, so I can't take credit for it, but I thought it was a brilliant statement. They're like that team that finishes first in the championship, like the second division of England, and then gets promoted to the Premier League and just gets rolled, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the Norwich.
The Norwich, exactly.
Yeah.
Norwich, exactly.
Ouch.
At least in this one. I mean, it's their first phrase.
Because you're used to playing in quite an attacking way against weaker opponents.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like the United States.
And it shows
that's a good shout. Yeah, I like
that. It takes much more than just having, or being a one-trick, but not that they're a one-trick pony, but having your thing to have success in World Cups. You're
not playing Belize anymore, lads.
Right. No, but I mean, they still finished first, so it wasn't just beating Belize, but it goes to my point that qualifying, even if you finish first in qualifying or do really well, European teams that go undefeated in qualifying get eliminated in the group stage at least once every World Cup, at least. So
Belgium always do well in qualifying. So
Belgium, right? Poland in 2018. Anyway, so it takes much more than that, and I think Canada learned the lesson. It takes a coach not putting up locker room material too. I think he learned a lesson.
Yeah,
the motivation he gave Croatia. All those little things are worth a quarter goal here, half a goal here, but you add it all up, you go 0-3. That's just how it is.
Can I throw a question to you, Andy, which is as someone who has a Canadian connection? I mean, you might be too much of a soccer nerd to be a good person to ask about this, but how do you feel about the effort of the team? Because I've seen some comments on the internet about like Canadians not really knowing, should we feel proud about the effort that we put in, or should we feel disappointed that there was a bit of naivety on show?
I think proud that you got to your first World Cup since '86 with a team that is youngish in some areas, and there's promise there. Some guys that are going to have to be replaced. I don't know what's coming up behind them, and that might be dicey. We're hosting the World Cup in 4 years, so that's all those things are positive. The game against Belgium that's very positive, but you would have hoped there was less naivete in a way of how to manage the 3 games in group play.
Is that how Canadians say that word?
Naivete? Naivete. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was a different way of saying it.
Yeah, no.
Just go with it, Andy. Say yes. It's a Canadian thing.
Yes,
we move
it's
on.
the French-Canadian way of saying it. Naivete.
That's how we say it in Montreal.
That's right. In Montreal, they say naivete. Oui. Anyway, so it's mixed, but I think overall proud. Yeah, it's good.
So how do you feel about John Herdman?
I think he was brilliant up to World Cup, and I think like the players and like the lack of experience when a player goes to the World Cup for the first time, you're learning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right. So now we get Morocco facing off against Spain, and Japan facing off against Croatia. That feels like it worked out pretty well for both those bigger European teams in terms of who.
But sometimes be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah. Although the Japanese against Croatia, all that youth and speed against a somewhat older, slower Croatia. Is that the experience versus inexperience thing?
That Morocco-Spain matchup. I mean, again, Morocco. I know Spain are quite a lot better than Croatia and Belgium, so maybe they'll just pick them apart. But again, I have to say it again, the defensive structure of this team, the way they stay pretty compact, that thing with having the forwards not run around like madmen, but cut off passing lanes, midfielders who go into challenges, and Sofian Amrabat, who does a really good job sweeping up. I think he's going to be in demand after this tournament. I can see them making life a little bit awkward for Spain, I have to say.
Yeah, no, I think all the round of 16 games they're all going to be tight and close. I mean, Netherlands, US has a chance.
Yeah,
Argentina,
absolutely.
Australia has a chance, right? Japan, Croatia. We talked about Spain, Morocco. England, Senegal is going to give England a hard time.
Absolutely, do not trust England to make light work. Yeah, absolutely.
France, Poland, I'll tell you right now, France advance.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so there we go. Group F, Morocco tops. Andy's Croatia. At least half of his family made it through to the group stage out of the same group. Belgium third and Canada fourth. That finishes up part 2. For part 3, we will get Andy's trivia question in. We'll talk quick little notes about the U.S. men's national team and preview Friday's last round 3, which is groups G and H, and we will do that next. That's actually a really good tweet. Did you see this one?
I did. Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, here is part 3 of Matchday 11 of Qatar KickAround. We got just a little bit of time left. Let's start off by letting Professor Andy ask and answer his World Cup trivia question.
Okay, over the last 4 World Cups, that's since 2010, last 12 years, I'm going to list 4 countries.
Come on, Lars, you can do
Tell
this.
me which one of these has had the most round of 16 appearances, and which one from the list has had the least round of 16 appearances?
I know, Lars, they don't ask you to do stuff like this on Football Weekly, but we're nowhere near the size and magnitude of that. So we need bits.
Who has had
they
most?
They stupidly assume that I know things already, but of course you insist on testing that knowledge, which is very unkind of you.
Germany.
All right.
The 4 countries are Germany, the United States, Italy, or Belgium.
I think I know the answer to this.
The country with the most from that list and the country with the least. Who wants to start here?
All right, the 4. One more time. The
Germany,
4, Germany, U.S.,
Italy, Belgium.
All right. You want me to start, Lars? Or you want to go first?
You please start. I'm still thinking.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna win this and give it away and ruin it for you.
Okay.
The most is the U.S.
Correct.
The least. So Italy has missed the last 2 World. You know what it is? It's Italy because they've missed the last 2 World Cups, and I think they bombed out of one of the other ones
in Brazil. Yeah.
In Brazil, so it's U.S. top, Italy bottom.
Correct. Italy.
Very good. Yes, Peter.
U.S. 3 of the last 4 World Cups have reached the round of 16. Germany, who won it in 2014, has only reached the round of 16 twice in that span.
Losers.
Belgium's golden generation that we're all talking about. We're, by the way, finally happy that we're going to stop talking about this golden generation of Belgium is twice.
Yeah.
Italy, 0 times round of 16 in the last 4 World Cups. They bowed out group stage in 10. They bowed out group stage in 14. Remember, in 10 as defending champions.
Holy crap.
10 I'd forgotten about.
So Italy, 0 times.
Wait, just stop for 1 second there and just absorb and soak that in for a second. The Italians in the last 4 World Cups have bombed out in the first 2 and didn't even make the last 2.
Right.
I didn't even realize
this is over
That's
the last
crazy.
12 years. So a lot can happen in a span of a generation of soccer players. The U.S. has advanced 3 or 4 times to the round of 16. So a little credit there. Japan, too, by the way, Lars. Japan, who you're high on, they've been doing it.
Yeah.
But now they finished in first in group, which is a first for them.
That's
so
crazy.
They've gone out of the group and then gone out pretty meekly after that.
Yeah.
First, I think they've left more of an imprint on this championship, even if they were to go out in the next round.
But there we go. So
right.
it just goes to show you.
I'm doing pretty good in Andy's
I'd forgotten
trivia.
about how bad they were in 2010 Italy. I've completely blanked that out.
Yeah, because they were one of those.
That's when they drew. That's when they drew against New Zealand. Yes, that's what it is.
And Paraguay or something.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I'm amazed those guys were allowed back in the country after that.
Now that defending champions don't advance out of group play, right? Till France did it now, and they were defending champions in 10.
Crazy. Okay, so just a little bit of U.S. men's national team update. For those who don't know, all of the concern and worry over Christian Pulisic's eggs and bacon is apparently not to be too concerned about, because he did a press conference today and they kept trying to dodge around the whole thing. They kept talking about his pelvic contusion, and he finally said, hey, look, it's okay. I didn't get kicked in the balls.
Right.
So I guess it is the pelvic bone over here that sticks out that actually got hit, and he didn't end up getting it in the goods. So now they are still listing him as day-to-day, and Josh Sargent is also listed as day-to-day. I'm surprised to hear that Sargent's even listed as day-to-day, because a day ago there was some word that he may not be available for the rest of the tournament.
That looked to me like some kind of, it's the ankle, right?
Yes.
It looked like a bad ankle wiggle, if that's the medical term for it.
I think. Well, you should know. You're the ankle wiggle expert.
Well, that was an ankle explosion, what I did to mine, I think.
That's true. Okay.
Do you think Pulisic is really day-to-day?
I would be shocked if he doesn't play.
Starts?
No, you know what I think happens? I think that's the opportunity to give him and bring him on as a super sub late. We can start talking about all of this tomorrow.
Just start Aronson and tell him to run everything he has for 60 minutes.
Well, there was an interesting comment Pulisic made. He said when he got, he was bummed not to be there, but when he got to the hospital and they turned the game on his phone, his quote is something, and I'm paraphrasing. When I saw Brendan out there running around, I wasn't worried. And which makes you wonder, see, this is the whole Giovanni Reyna thing. Yeah. If he sees Giovanni Reyna not out there running around, does he worry?
Did you see the video as the team arrived and Pulisic is in the hotel getting video of everybody arriving? They're all greeting him. And
Reyna looks very bummed out, and he's got his headphones on, and everybody's partying. But again, that's this weird little snippet in time.
I'm increasingly, like, again, you know the squad better than I do, you know the coach better than I do. I increasingly think this is a team role thing, and the opposite of, you know how Germany have failed partially, kept trying to squeeze in all their best players in positions they don't necessarily like. I think Berhalter is just doing the opposite here. I think he sees this team as having a midfield three, of wanting Weah on the right because he gives you the speed and the directness and the running up and down, of wanting a striker in the middle. And then there's, in order of preference, Pulisic, Aronson, or Reyna on that left-hand spot to come inside and be more of an inside wingery type man. That's what it looks like, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's looking at Reyna as depth for Pulisic, with Aronson as depth for midfield, rather than for Pulisic.
What's interesting is somebody pointed out that when you go back and watch the U.S.-England game, in the few minutes that Reyna was on the field, somebody points out if you go back and watch, there are opportunities for him too, and it's almost like he refuses to go into a full sprint. And it does make you wonder if there is an injury situation that they're just really worried about, and they're just trying to mitigate it as much as possible. The lineup for Saturday is a fascinating conversation about rotation or stick with your guys or whatever it is. We could talk about that as an exclusive and entire pod unto itself.
And one of the themes as we start talking about the games in the knockout stages now, and as teams advance, is depth, right? We're going to start talking about depth much more than we have been so far.
Okay, tomorrow, Friday, we get our final third round of group games. We start off in the 9 a.m. Group, of course, with the later group. I don't know, whatever. Ghana and Uruguay.
It has to do with matchups and time zones and.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so Ghana and Uruguay simultaneously with Korea and Portugal.
The rematch.
Yeah, Uruguay-Ghana, right?
Mm-hmm.
The revenge match for Ghana. Now, Uruguay has been a little, at least to me, disappointing in this tournament.
Yes,
I think both Peter and I expected more. I don't think you were as high on Uruguay as we were, perhaps. Lars?
I think my line was, there are good players here, but I'm not convinced it's a team that works.
And, well, you were kind of right.
Wait and see.
Yeah, you were right. Now, look, Uruguay, I never count them out, having been part of the fabric of South American soccer for a while, and just having been raised in South America and watching Uruguay play your teams. You never count them out, and they could beat Ghana and get the result they need to advance. So I'm not going to count them out, but Ghana looks good to advance here. With a draw, I believe, gets them through, right? Is that true?
It would be peak Uruguay to just stink up the place, be terrible, but somehow scrape a 1-0 win and get out of the group having never played well. I mean, that seems to be just about on brand for them, no?
Just a reminder to everybody, Ghana is both the lowest FIFA-ranked team in the tournament and also the youngest roster in the tournament, which would be a pretty big monumental deal for them to get through to the knockout stage with those things, kind of those labels on their back.
Now working against Ghana and Uruguay is the fact that Portugal has qualified or has advanced, right? Mm-hmm. And so France, we saw them roll out the B team. So it is possible that Portugal puts out a combo A-B team to play South Korea, although they do have first place to play for and to avoid Brazil.
Yeah,
but if Portugal loses by 1 to South Korea and Ghana doesn't beat Uruguay by a lot, they could still finish in first. I don't know how the coach would approach this, but there is a scenario where Portugal loses to South Korea.
And I do, want to bring up, I feel like we've undersold this. The Suarez revenge element of this is huge. I mean, the handball in 2010 is still very much an open wound.
Did you see his quote today?
Well, and I agree with him.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't exactly.
I completely agree. I think I don't even think it was cheating. It was committing a foul because it was the right thing to do.
No, this is. I think Lars is right, and I agree. Let's say his quote. He was asked if he was going to apologize for that.
Or if he felt bad about it.
No, he was asked if he would apologize.
Oh, okay.
And
just saw
said,
the quote.
"No, I don't have anything to apologize for. It was a foul. I was shown the red card justly, and then I wasn't the one that missed the penalty kick."
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
right?
Look,
I mean,
it's cheating if you do something that's against the rules and you get away with it, right? Like the hand of God was cheating, but committing a foul and taking your punishment because it's in the situation, it was the smart move. I don't think that's cheating.
Right, it's like bringing the guy down on a breakaway.
That would be like saying that every foul in every game is an act of cheating. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, 100%.
But it is certainly something that's, I think it's an extra motivating factor for them because they're very much not over it.
It didn't help that it was Luis Suarez.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Right?
100%. That's the thing.
Like if Tyler Adams had done that, we'd all feel very
or
differently.
98% of the players
differently.
out there. Right. Yeah. Exactly. No, totally right. Both of yous are right.
Okay. All right. So that is that particular group playing out, and then at 1 p.m. it is Cameroon and Brazil, and then Serbia. It is the game. Put this on the biggest television you can. Turn up the sound. Hide the women and children. It is Serbia and Switzerland at 1 p.m., and they got a lot to play for in this one, Andy.
They do. I mean, a lot of it is political in nature and historical in nature from what happened in 2018. And it was Shaka, right? That was shown the yellow.
I know we've done this once before, but we have new listeners all the time. Lars, why don't you give us a little social studies explanation as to why Switzerland, of all things, and Serbia are such hated rivals?
So in recent history, I mean, if you look at the Swiss national team, you'll notice not a lot of them are names that you typically think of as Swiss
names.
Swiss? They have, over the last few tournaments, over this generation, really benefited from immigrant kids who came to the country, and a lot of them coming to the country during the 90s when there were trouble down on the Balkans. So they have a lot of guys in there, or not that many now actually, but two of the big ones, Granit Xhaka and Xherdan Shaqiri, are of Albanian heritage. And of course, Albania, like quite a few countries around there, don't like the Serbs very much. And we frankly don't have time, and I don't really have the competence to really go into the historical reasons why. I do recommend looking it up because it's a rich and fascinating and complex history. But fair to say, that is very much a present and alive. The volcano is not sleeping. There's not a dormant volcano. The volcano is smoking and open. They really don't like each other. And last time they faced each other, it caused quite a lot of aggro. And then in... How do you phrase
nationalistic hand signs were shown in a very gang-style manner.
Exactly right, yeah. And I remember when this happened, obviously you kind of understand where it's coming from with the Albanian guys on Switzerland, but like Stefan Lichtsteiner was getting involved. It's like, why are you? He was just a guy who loved the aggro. And I think it's one of those, even if you're not personally of that extraction, if you have teammates who are from there and feel very strongly that they don't like the Serbians, then that kind of, in the group, if you have good team spirit, that sort of that spreads around.
Okay, so Switzerland and Serbia, one of those two should advance, depending on the outcome of the game between them. In second place, Brazil's already qualified through. They're guaranteed first place unless Switzerland wins by a lot and Brazil loses. The only way Cameroon can spoil the party for either Switzerland or Serbia is by beating Brazil and then by beating Brazil. If they beat Brazil, then Switzerland needs to win. A draw might not work, and Serbia would have to win by a couple goals. But we don't really think Cameroon will beat Brazil, do we?
How many red cards in Serbia?
I wonder if because there's been a big build-up on it, maybe they'll sort of make a point out of trying to stay composed. We'll see.
Switzerland needs basically a draw, so they have the advantage between those two.
Yeah,
Serbia has to come out and
I think
win.
the fact... And I think, again, we've flagged up this as a chaos match and the yellow cards flying everywhere, and it could and should be that. But I also wonder if the fact that Switzerland are in a favorable position in the group, it might mean that I mean, if I'm the coach of Switzerland, I'm spending most of this week telling the lads, like, just settle the hell down. Like, no stupid stuff in this game, because we just need to not lose and not screw up here.
All right, the referee for the game is Fernando Andres Rapinelli.
Rapinelli from Argentina. Yeah, good, very good referee. I've seen him do qualifiers.
Okay.
He's one of those that will.
Is that
be
the guy with the muscles?
With you. Man, is he the one with the? I think he's the tall one that without a lot of hair.
Okay.
Also, as a side note to Cameroon, Brazil, intriguing to see if we get Dani Alves, if old man Alves gets a start now, because I wouldn't expect them to play Eder Militao at right back against Cameroon. That would be a surprise.
I saw repeated online in the headlines multiple times today that Neymar's ankle situation is worse than maybe they thought it was, and he may not be back for the tournament at all. So,
which does mean we're cheated. We don't get the Nuhu versus Neymar matchup that I think old MLS watchers was looking forward to.
We love that, yes, for sure.
Is that the muscle guy? I just showed you the picture.
No, that's not who I thought it was. No, I don't think the muscle guy is in the tournament. He was considerably more hulked out than some of the guys today. All right, well, we did it. We've made it through yet another episode, Matchday 11, believe it or not, Lars. Thank you, my friend.
It was what a match day it was. It was a lot of fun. Let's hope for more of the same tomorrow.
Are you tired and sleepy and ready to go to bed? Are you all exhausted?
No,
I'm
all right today. It was yesterday.
Are you vibing and you just have filled with adrenaline?
I'm all good. I think it was yesterday. I was feeling weirdly tired. Now this has been fun. I'm fired up, which is sad because I do have to go to bed. It's 11 p.m. here, so Well,
before we started the broadcast, Lars was partaking in the brown drink.
Mm-hmm. Don't be outing me on the podcast there now.
It's nothing wrong with the brown drink.
It looked very cultured. It was a small drink glass with some ice in it.
I like having one very small drink to settle down before we record after all the action.
Before you go on with the annoying Americans?
Yeah, like how you put up with us.
It's not true at all. I enjoyed this.
American and Canadian.
That's true. Chilean Canadian. Have you ever heard of such a weird thing as that?
Chilean Canadian. Very strange.
That is very weird.
We used to have a
Croatia shirt.
There's a very famous Major League Baseball pitcher who is half Iranian, half Japanese.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? All right. Well, thank you again, Lars. Have a great evening. Get some sleep. We will watch out for the nuttiness tomorrow. Andy, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you who watched the live stream, download the podcast. Tomorrow, Match Day 12 is largely going to be a preview of the United States versus Netherlands. We will talk to you then. So have a great night. We love and adore you. Get stuck in and win your 50s.